8-16.
Saints by a few scores anyway. We're
Yeah.
thinking Saints will win this one in the end. I
And
mean,
again, that could easily be a bigger score.
you can't go against them, do you? Can you?
No.
It's just the way that is with St Helens at the moment. They're too good. Right, Sunday, 2:45 p.m. also on BBC. This is the most intriguing game of the round. It really has to be that. The two championship sides, and if I'm right, I think they've played each other twice this year, and one result has gone one way and one result has gone the other way. I'm not. Maybe they've only because they played at the Bash, didn't they? And Halifax won that one. So it's Bradford versus Halifax, and if I had a coin, I'd be flipping it to decide this game. So I'll let you go first whilst I gather my thoughts.
Well, I have at the moment gone Halifax 22, Bradford 18 because Joshua's second team is Halifax, and they'll tell me off if I don't go in favour of them. But then you've got the John Keir factor, haven't you? So maybe I'm wrong to do that, but I'll stick with it.
When it comes to Challenge Cup games, two schools are better than one.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I know.
And maybe that leads me to go with the Bulls. I'm going to go with the Bulls by 2. I think they've won close games in the 2 previous cup rounds at home, so I think they're going to do it again. And I hope that this will be an entertaining game for the cameras, because you're going to expect the quality isn't going to be top notch because it's 2 championship sides. So what you want is the drama, don't you? You want the drama and the closeness.
Yep.
So hopefully we'll have 4 cracking cup quarter-finals. Make sure you get your fan views in on those, everyone who watches them, and we can talk about those next week. Championship game of the week. There's one championship game next weekend. It's Widnes and Sheffield catching up on their game that was postponed when Widnes were in the throes of administration. So Sheffield have hit a rough patch, but Widnes aren't exactly flying either at the moment. So it's going to be an interesting game. I just two teams who play on a plastic pitch, so that's not going to be a factor. I'm going to go Widnes just.
I'm going to go Sheffield. I'd like to see Widnes do it, and I do worry because it looks like a lot of the fans are getting quite irate with Widnes. So I would like to see Widnes do it, but I think Sheffield will do it.
I think the Widnes fans need to have a bit of patience. They've got a lot of young players, and at the moment some of their key senior players are out injured, and you can't really do much about that.
No, and they need to remember they've still got a club.
Yeah, and look, you're second bottom by virtue of the fact that Barrow got to play Rochdale this week, but you'll play Rochdale at some point.
Yeah.
Everyone gets to play them. Right, in the Women's Super League, 3 fixtures at the weekend to talk about in that, and then I think there's a midweek game following that that's going to be on the R League app, but we'll talk about the 3 fixtures at the weekend because they'll come before next week's show, and we'll pick out the game of the week, and it's probably going to have to be Wakefield versus Saints because you've kind of got a top clubs versus bottom clubs weekend, but Wakefield and Saints were both winners in the Challenge Cup at the weekend, so let's pick out that game, but let's say Saints are going to win probably quite easily.
Yeah, I think so.
In the NRL, condensed rounds as the Origin season is upon us, so there's only 2 games to pick out for our British players to be playing in. The Eels versus the top of the table Rabbitohs. That's Friday at 10:55 a.m. Rabbitohs obviously missing a few players that have been pulled up into the Origin squad, so we'll see how they cope with that. And then on Saturday, 10:35 a.m. it's the Bulldogs versus our Raiders with Hodgson, Sutton and Whitehead expected to play, obviously, in that one. Bateman's still out injured, so we'll see how they manage to cope against the team at the bottom of the table. Make sure you're getting your fan reviews on all of those games for next week's show. We'll look forward to talking through those. We're now going to wrap up this episode of Super League Pod, an episode that we make no real apologies for wittering on a little bit about the Magic Weekend, because it's only once a year that we all get to see all the games, and we should celebrate that fact because we wish we could every week. So let's move on now to just wrap this episode 223 up. Okay, Sarah, I nearly did Alan and a Tim and forgot to do a quiz. Shame on them. But why did I give them a shout out at the top? They didn't do a quiz.
Disgusting behaviour
from the two of them.
I know.
Anyway, I have done a quiz. I'm hoping it's quite an accessible quiz this weekend.
Accessible for me or the listeners?
Well, for everyone involved, Sarah. I'm sure you'll. I've tried to do the first two questions fairly gettable. The last question a little bit tougher.
Okay.
So, all about Magic Weekend, the history of Magic Weekend. So,
Right.
Question 1: how many Magic Weekend venues have there been?
So, Murrayfield, Millennium, Etihad, Newcastle, Anfield. I think there's been 5.
Correct, and you named them all, so that's a bonus point there. Right, that was your warmer upper. That was you want to ease you in.
Okay.
Next on the agenda is, which team has won the most times at Magic Weekend?
I saw this last week.
The table has changed from last week after this weekend's games. Because Wigan were top. The glory days.
I'm torn between a logical answer and one that's really not logical, but...
Well, how well does logic serve us anyway, Sarah?
Right, I'm going to say Huddersfield.
You are correct to say
Yes!
Huddersfield. 9 times out of 13, Huddersfield have ended up on the winning side.
Yes.
So you've got 2 out of 3. You can rest easy and have a stab at this third one. Which team is the only one to have appeared at Magic Weekend and never won at Magic Weekend? This is one where logic may not break your heart.
I'm going to say Lee.
Yes. 3 out of 3.
Yes.
And it was recorded this time, so when you claim to have 3 out of 3, I always sort of think a bit, I'm only kidding. I'm only joking, but yeah, Lee, they played once. They lost to Salford in 2017 at Manchester. No, at Newcastle. At Newcastle in 2017.
And
there you go.
A little happy dance then when I got 3 out of 3.
Excellent performance there, yes. Right, we move on to recommendations. I'll let you go first. What have you got for us?
Okay, so I've got a card game. It's called Ligretto. It's one that we have at the church youth group, and I'd never played, but I'd watched them throwing these cards around, and then Luke asked if we could get it. So we bought it, and it is lots of fun. It's kind of a cross between Uno and Solitaire. So you have cards face up in front of you, and your aim is to get rid of all of your pile of cards by placing them in numerical order from 1 upwards in the centre. But you all lay your cards at the same time, so there's no turn taking. If you can see a card you can lay, you can do it. And the aim is to get rid of your cards first.
So what's the name again?
Ligretto.
Ligretto?
Yeah. And there's 4 different coloured decks in a box, but you can get different boxes, so you can end up with up to 12 hands that you can play at the same time.
Oh, that's quite a lot of players, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just fun, and you can play as many rounds as you want. You can, and because you score each round. You can. Tonight, I think I finished on -37. So didn't do terribly well, but
so I was going to say that doesn't sound like a good score, but it could get you like 3rd or 4th in the Super League table, or second in the League One table. So
all isn't lost.
No, not at all. Oh, okay. Well,
week.
My recommendation, unsurprisingly, comes from my trip to Barcelona.
Right.
we travelled around a lot of the craft beer places within the city. Quite a few that had sprung up since last time I was there. Actually, they're not cheap like craft beer places tend not to be, but we did get some really nice beers whilst we were over there. A lot of the Catalan beers were. The Catalan breweries beers that we tasted were a lot nicer than I was expecting them to be, which was great. The place that we kept returning to, and we ended up 3 out of the 4 nights going there on sort of our last drink on our way back to our hotel because it was down the road, was Garage Beer Co., which is a local Barcelona brewery. I'm not sure how accessible their beers are over here, but they had a session IPA, which probably wasn't very session by British standards because it was 4.9%. So on the continent, that's probably session. Here, probably slightly above what we'd call a session, but it was very, very nice, and I enjoyed it a lot. And I hope they're not listening and they can't incriminate me for this, but I did steal a glass from there as a souvenir.
Shocking behaviour.
As a souvenir of my trip.
And listeners, we do not encourage criminal behaviour on the podcast.
No, I would love to say that I regret my actions, but it's a wonderful souvenir. I don't know what to say. I spent enough money on beer there that they could give me a glass. Let's put it that way. Right. What we got coming up next week? Alan's going to be on the show with me. So we'll find out where Alan's gone on his Challenge Cup Odyssey because he's going to different places in every round. I suspect he might be at Odsal this time around.
You think?
I'm calling it. He might well be at Odsal this time around. Tim may or may not have a shortcoming this week about the new Coventry Bears book that one of his friends and our friends who do the Bear Necessities podcast wrote for Coventry's 20th year in existence, which actually turned out to be their best year so far, as well as a sort of in the semi-professional ranks. And they had some great wins, and who better to chart that journey than the guys who were following that journey every step of the way with their wonderful podcasts. So Tim's going to have an interview coming up at some point on that, so keep an ear out for that as well. And then I'm still not sure about this house business, but we went round today to look at the house that we're meant to be buying again to make sure nothing had fallen down since we had our offer accepted, because it's been a while. So depending on how the house situation goes, we may have to take a show off or so in June, but we'll see how we go. Because if I don't have internet, I'm going to struggle.
Yeah, you are.
It's pretty much internet-based, this business, isn't it?
It is largely, yeah.
But we'll see how we go. And just to remind everyone that they can find and share the show at Super League Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Do you know what? We were crap this weekend. We should have put stuff on Instagram.
Oh, yes.
I did a lot of pictures that all went on Twitter. None went on Instagram.
No.
Anyway, facebook.com/Super League Pod as well. superleaguepod@gmail.com if you want to send us an email. superleaguepod.com where you'll find blog posts. I'll put some information on there about Sarah's bookshop, Sarah's bookcase.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sarah. I butchered that one.
Anything.
Sarah's bookcase. Search for the show on Spreaker, iTunes, Leaguecast Android app, Podcast Addict, Stitcher, rugbyleaguemedia.com or YouTube. Or wherever else you get podcasts, you'll probably be able to find us. I would suspect Google Podcasts. You can find us on Google Podcasts as well. It's time to mention our partner sponsors. Sarah, do you want to do the first one? You gave them a little bit of a call out before.
Yes, I definitely do. Just 1 second. So our partner sponsors are Rob's Toy Shop. Enter SLP discount on checkout at Rob's Toy Shop on eBay and get 5% cash back on orders over £5. Plus you can give 1% cash back to SLP.
Yep, we've got Little Warden, who are back from their cruise. We should mention, actually, Dom made a brief appearance at Magic Weekend, didn't he?
He did.
An excusably brief appearance at Magic Weekend, given he only just got off his cruise, got back from his cruise on Saturday evening, and had to be up to do the Liverpool half marathon in his shark costume on Sunday morning. So understandably he was exhausted, especially after the emotional roller coaster that the Leeds Rhinos side put him through as well during that 80 minutes.
Yeah, he didn't look too great.
But absolute credit to Dom anyway, and head to littlewarden.com to see what they can do to help you if you've got a website and that sort of stuff. Back our friends. Mascot